My name is Mary Evelyn Smithson.
Um, okay, well, what kind of, or what schools did you go to? Or what schools were around then?
Barrett Grammar School, and it was old when I went, so you can imagine how old it is now. Then I went to Woodlawn High School, which was 4 wonderful years. Wonderful, and during the summer, 2 summers, I went to Phillips High School, and so I graduated a little bit early from Woodlawn. I graduated in 1946. Then I went to Howard College for 2 years, and then I went to work at Protective Life in the investment department. I got a job early when I was in high school ushering at the theater in East Lake. I ushered during the week. You had a flashlight, you walked down the aisle, you ushered people to their seats. And so for that, I got in to see the movies free on the weekend. I've forgotten how much popcorn was. It couldn't have been very much, probably 5 cents, since it was 10 cents to get in the theater. But it was wonderful. You had a comedy, you had what they called a continuous story. You saw each serial, each Saturday, one. It was Tarzan or Flash Gordon, and you couldn't wait from week to week to see the next episode. Then you saw a full-length movie. You got everything for 10 cents. They were quiet, home-loving. My father sold burial insurance. He became famous for writing a burial policy on a mule during the Depression. The farmer said he wouldn't pay for a policy on himself, but if he could write a policy on his mule, he would pay the premium. So Daddy gave the mule a name, an age, an address, and a name, and the policy went through. And even today, people laugh if they remember Mr. Teal writing an insurance policy on a mule. That was down in Clanton, Alabama. He was from Clanton. My mother was from Mississippi, and they were just quiet. Family lived in East Lake.
I actually did not know that. I just always assumed that we were, or at least a few generations from Birmingham, but it sounds like they both moved to Birmingham. Your mother, what part of Mississippi was your mom?
She was from Sturgis, Mississippi. She went to Mississippi State College for Women and got a degree in teaching, although she never taught.
And well, when did they meet, if you even remember?
They met, of all places, in Atlanta, and I never figured out how my mother got that far away from home.
How old were they when you were born?
Well, Mother was 36.
Okay.
And so I don't remember exactly being born, but I remember later on when the cat disappeared. You know, those things stay in your mind when a pet goes away and doesn't come back. The beautiful white dog we had. East Lake was a nice place to grow up.
And this was also the same house that I was raised
In
with my
East
mother.
Lake. Back then, you walked everywhere. No one had a car. And young people never thought about having a car, that it was a necessity. And we would get together after church at Rahama Baptist Church at Mayor Vesta's house, and we played the piano and the xylophone, and we sang, and then the boys would always walk the girls home. So it was a wonderful growing up period in Birmingham. There was nothing to fear. Crime was not a figure, not in our minds. We were not aware of crime then. That's the way I hope that most children could grow up, not having to fear.
So the house being relatively close to Eastlake Park. Was Eastlake Park around when you were?
Yes, it was a wonderful place. In fact, Eastlake Park had lots and lots of things going on at one time. There was a hotel there. There was a little train that went around it. My mother used to write in the Birmingham News about events at Eastlake Park.
And then what was the system of mass transportation that you used to get around the city?
Well, we called them Tidewater streetcars. They were little streetcars that went down Fifth Avenue North, went up 77th Street to First Avenue, and then you transferred to another streetcar that went to downtown Birmingham. And after I was grown, we had some wonderful electric streetcars that were soft and warm and comfortable to ride in, and they were attached to a wire that ran down the center of the street. There's been lots and lots of changes in all those years in Birmingham, tremendous changes.
What was the city like?
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. The city was full of wonderful stores. 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, that was called the racetrack. At night, a lot of times kids would gather and just ride downtown just to see the lights and go around the racetrack and see friends. And shopping was wonderful, had great stores. Pizitz and Loveman's were the main stores. There was Burger Phillips. There were lots and lots of wonderful places to buy. And in the Woodward building on First Avenue, there was a wonderful drugstore there. And upstairs there were lots of doctors' offices. And on the other corner was the First National Bank building. Across the street, at one time that was considered the heaviest corner in the United States, with 4 great big buildings on each corner. And I could eat lunch, try on dresses, and be back in 45 minutes, all in high heels, when I worked. And I had a wonderful job at Protective Life. I was receptionist to the 2nd Vice President, Romaine S. Scott. And we handled all the mortgage loan payments, the wills, stock splits. It was a wonderful job.
Well, let's talk a little bit about those friendships. Like, how did you meet, for example?
Well, I had a date one night, and we went to a restaurant after going to the movies. And there was this young man there, and he had a smile. Unfortunately, he had a tooth missing on the side, and so he was sliding French fries in his mouth through that missing tooth without opening his teeth. I thought that was the most remarkable, cutest thing I had ever seen. And I thought he was the cutest thing I'd ever met. And that's how we started going together and married.
So, okay, so we're talking about my grandfather. So what year was it when you guys met?
We married in 1952.
Okay.
So we met in 1951.
Okay, so it was a year-long courtship. And how old were you then? Or was this after your tenure at Howard College?
No, I was 25 when I married.
Okay. Well, speaking a little bit about my grandfather, what were some of the things that he liked to do as hobbies or work on as mechanical hobbies?
He loved wooden boats. That was his lifelong dream, to have a wooden boat. And when he died, he had a beautiful boat. He could also start any car on earth. He just had the ability. He worked first it was Genuine Parts Company, and became NAPA for 43 years. He was called a legend in the parts business. But he had diabetes, and he was on insulin, and he had trouble when he had insulin reactions. We had to watch him a lot. But he was a wonderful man. But like I say, we had many cars. My favorite was the 1970 Mustang.